you found this video through the YouTube algorithm, and chances are you probably watched tons of other videos before this one, so I'm gonna make a deal with you. I show you 7 of my favorite music production tips, and after this video, you go and experiment with at least one of them. Imagine how much your music production knowledge would expand if you followed at least one thing from every video you watch. Sound like a deal? Let's get into it. Okay, so I have these splice vocals here.
Was left to my own devices, and now I'm in deep.
And we're gonna use them for this example. So there's a way you can create this really cool, warped, ghostly effect that sounds really unique. And it's extremely simple. So the first thing we're going to do is just reverse the vocals. And now that they're reversed, all we have to do is apply reverb to these. It can be any reverb that you want. And you just want to make sure the mix or the wet knob is on 100%. So this is going to completely wash out the vocals, and once we have this, all we have to do is go ahead and render it out. So I'm going to consolidate this, and once you have the consolidated reverse vocals with the reverb on it, all you have to do is reverse it again. So as you can tell, it already has this really cool ghost effect, and if we wanted to, we could go ahead and apply the same exact reverb as before just to wash it out a little bit more. And you can use this for anything, maybe your leads or a drum loop or just anything like that. And with just a little bit more work, as you can tell, I took the ghost effect and automated the volume to control it a little bit better. And then I added this synth loop for a sample pack that I made a while ago. And this is what we have now. Sounds super sick, and without that ghost effect, the vocals just sound a lot less interesting, so it definitely adds something. Here's without. So as you can tell, it's just a little bit more boring without them. It's just a really cool effect. Okay, so never underestimate the power of choosing high quality sounds or sounds that fit with your track. There is a huge difference that it will make when you choose high quality sounds versus low quality sounds that don't fit the genre or whatever. And to know what samples are high quality and samples that are low quality is just listening to other tracks and producing. You just kind of have to know and have that ear for what sounds good, and that will naturally come to you as you start producing more. Now here's a track that I would say has a pretty high quality sample selection. I would say it sounds pretty good. And here's that exact same track, except with just bad quality sounds. I replaced them with some of the FL Studio default samples. It doesn't sound as powerful, the samples don't fit, and it's lost a ton of potential. And this shouldn't be an excuse for you to have shiny object syndrome like I used to have and go try and buy different sample packs to solve your problems. But just never underestimate the power of a good quality sample selection. Now this one's one of my favorites because it just helps you make more unique music. For some reason, it just works. And that is to take one predetermined idea or theme for a track and then build the track around that theme. For this track, I call it Awaken, and that's because whenever the drop plays, it just sounds like you're awakening. I don't really know how to describe it, but this is what it sounds like. Just this little section right here when the drop opens up was the main idea for the track. This is a pretty old track. I think I made it in like 2021 and it's called Submerge. And the reason for that is because I think I used a few water sounds or something, but I also sampled this video right here for the track. It's like 2 hours of singing ice or something like that. I just thought that sounded really cool and thought I could incorporate it into the track. And if I play it, you can kind of hear that in the background. Another thing I like to do for this tip is just to write in your notes app a ton of song ideas or titles that you could build a track around. I don't want to reveal all of mine, but I have Blue Flames, Silhouette, Colorblind, Icarus, just a bunch of random titles that I could potentially use for a track. Now this one's a little bit more technical, but let's say you have a track that has a drop that doesn't exactly sound as powerful as you want it to. would say this track's decently powerful already, but I want to enhance that a little bit. And what we can do in FL Studio, I don't know how this is going to be for Ableton or Logic, but we can go to the mixer and click this little button right here. What this is going to do is enable the extra stereo properties, and what we're going to be focusing on is this knob here. The more you turn it to the right, the more the track gets mono, so in the center, and the more you turn it to the left, the wider the track gets. So what we can do is actually create an automation clip for this knob, and now that we have the automation clip, we can automate this to go more in the center as the buildup progresses, and then whenever the drop hits, it can reset back to the default. So let's listen. So it just gives it a little bit more contrast between the build and the drop. Kind of gives it the illusion that it sounds more powerful. And we could turn this all the way up to mono. And you can really hear the difference when the drop hits. And obviously we probably don't want it all the way to mono, so maybe about right there. So now when the drop opens up, it sounds a lot more wide and powerful. And this is very simple and easy to do. Obviously it's not an instant fix if your drop already sounds weak, but it can definitely help enhance its energy a little bit more. Recently I've been having the mindset of doing the exact opposite of what you'd expect in a track during sound design or just the production or anything like that. Literally just being weird and doing random stuff. And this is so powerful because you can find your unique sound that nobody else has through this. So literally just be weird and do random stuff. I'll do right now. So I could just take a random percussion loop maybe. Just put this in here. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm just gonna render that out. See, this sound wouldn't exist now if we weren't experimenting and just being weird with sound design. Maybe we could do this with synths as well. That sounds cool, see what I'm saying? Anyway, there's infinite ways you could go with this. Just experiment, bro. So you might recognize this track from my Stutter House video. And this tip is all about adding ambient sounds very quietly in the background of your track. And so why would we do this? Well, it just adds a more natural and sometimes human feel to your tracks. So for example, I recorded this Night Force sample. It's just barely in the background of the track, and it just gives it more life and more detail. As well as this Glass River sample, I made this with granular synthesis. So even though you can barely hear these samples, it just adds a little something, a little bit of life to the track. And I would highly suggest just going outside and recording random ambient sounds that you hear. The phrase writer's block just makes me cringe. I've never believed in it, I never will, and that's because writer's block doesn't exist. It's just your current emotional state. I've tried to drill this into my own mind as much as possible. I literally have a paper above my monitor that says writer's block doesn't exist. With that being said, developing the kind of mental framework that writer's block doesn't exist and that you can still make music even when you don't feel like it or you don't have inspiration is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Because you're going to be more consistent, you're going to make more music, and your skills will grow exponentially because you're basically outrunning everybody else that uses writer's block as an excuse. And I'm not some super disciplined guy or anything like that, but I have implemented this into my own life. In fact, I felt writer's block before recording this video. The passive producers are gonna say, oh, just make music when you feel like it, just wait for inspiration, which is honestly just stupid. Like, we know how this works. We want to excel in our music career and create the best music we possibly can, right? So just know that whenever you have a day that you feel writer's block, have no judgment towards your music and just make something. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you just improve by 1% after making it. You think I wanted to record this video before I started? Like, of course, I have a lot of fun recording videos and making music for the most part, but there's days where I just don't want to. And you're watching this video right now. There's proof. It works. It's what I've tried to implement my entire channel, as you can tell. Anyway, I appreciate you for watching. If you want to, there's a link in the description. It's a school community. I'll be updating it soon with a ton of courses. I just want to help as many producers as possible. If you like me, if you think I'm cool, please subscribe. It would help me a ton. Make music now, and you'll thank yourself later. Peace.